Welcome back to the third episode in this series of repairing my bike after a snapped chain caused a dent in the crankcase. In the previous episodes, we filled the dent using aluminium glue and replaced broken parts, namely the clutch rod and the clutch actuator assembly. We also did a full oil change and attempted to start the bike, but even with a fully charged battery, it wouldn't fire up. Still pondering the starting issues, in this video we decided to carry on with the repairs by replacing the chain and the front and rear sprockets. Starting with the rear sprocket, we lifted the bike onto two jack stands, keeping it steady while we removed the rear wheel. Once it was off, we found that the force of the chain snap had also damaged the sprocket nuts.
Il était noir.
It took a fair bit of hammering and effort, but we finally got the sprocket nuts loose and moved on to cleaning up the hub.
Il était noir.
After a solid cleanup, we greased the bearings and wheel axle, then fitted the brand new sprocket with fresh nuts. After some further discussions and pondering the starter issue, we came to a conclusion. With the battery fully charged and the starter clicking, we figured the problem lay somewhere within the starter itself. So, after hours of work off camera, draining the oil, removing and reinstalling the crankcase cover with fresh sealant, and refilling the bike with oil, we were ready to try another startup. Finally, success. It turned out that one of the starter gears had shifted slightly when we'd reinstalled the crankcase cover in the previous episode, preventing it from turning properly. This was a frustrating oversight that took days to resolve, but failing and fixing is part of the learning curve. Just as we were celebrating, we noticed the crankcase repair wasn't complete as there were tiny hairline cracks that were causing minor oil leaks. This meant another layer of touch-up work was in order. For now, we chose to continue the chain repair by replacing the front sprocket next. Using a power tool, the removal of the front sprocket is easy work. The new front sprocket is put in place, and using a 1/2-inch torque wrench, David tightened the drive shaft nut to 136 Nm. To keep the nut from undoing itself, it is dented at a designated spot on the outer part of the nut. Finally, it is time for the chain. I am using a chain by the brand DID, a company that is well regarded for producing high quality, durable and smooth operating chains. Starting from the front sprocket, we routed the chain through the drivetrain and made sure it's properly positioned. Now comes the difficult part of connecting the chain ends. This chain uses rivet pins and a new link to connect the chain ends, so we needed a special riveting tool. First, I am greasing the chain links. The new chain comes pre-lubricated, but also the connecting link and pins need to be greased. To make it easier to connect the chain ends, we adjusted the rear wheel to reduce the chain tension. The riveting tool works by pressing the pins into the link and securing them once they're fully through. After some trial and error, we figured out the correct tooltip and successfully riveted the pins in place. With the chain and sprockets installed, we adjusted the wheel to set the proper chain tension. The ideal tension allows for 1 cm of downward play and about 3 cm of upward play when the chain is pressed. To ensure proper alignment, we adjusted the wheel position using the indicator plates on either side of the axle and visually confirmed the alignment. After another startup, it was back to the Dremel to refine the crankcase touch-up and seal the remaining cracks we found during this bike startup. Alrighty, so there is unfortunately still some leakage. It's not crazy amounts, but it is in there. I'll try to show you. So it's coming from right underneath there, that spot. It's a hard to get to spot, because it's it's leaking from underneath. So I'll just have to, once again, glue that shut, and hopefully that will be the end of the gluing story. But for the rest, everything is working. The chain's working, the gears are working, and yeah, the clutch cable seems to be doing its job, so far, so good. With all new parts installed, a thoroughly sealed crankcase and a successful engine start, we're ready for a test ride. But that's all for today's video. Make sure to tune in next time to see how the repairs hold up out on the road. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.